go.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morganroth, along with my co-host Louis Eddie Weiss, and we welcome Les Wolff from Les Wolff LLC. What does that mean? That Mr. Wolff goes ahead and specializes in sports memorabilia. And Les, thanks for being on the program.
Thank you. By the way, it's Les Wolff Sports LLC.
Les. Okay. Well, glad. Thanks for the clarification. So,
not a problem. My pleasure.
So,
great
Les,
to meet you guys.
What's that?
I say great to be with you guys again. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing great.
We're doing good.
Keep up the great work you're doing.
Thank you. Well, we think so highly of you that we're bringing you on one of the most important days of the year, and that's the Baseball Hall of Fame. So we're going to get to that in a moment. But why don't you tell the listeners about what you do and what you specialize in, what you're looking to accomplish in the memorabilia business? I know there's probably a lot of memorabilia collectors out there.
Well, I started out when I was 6 years old. I'm 66 now, so I've spent 60 years collecting, buying, selling, collecting. I'm the first person in the world to do a sports memorabilia auction in late 1980s at an auction company called Sports Auctions of New York. I've been a lifelong collector. I have gotten every autograph, almost every autograph as a kid in person, from 68 to like the mid to late 70s. I've met almost every professional athlete. Muhammad Ali was one of my idols. I did a TNT special with him. Mickey Mantle was another idol. I was friends with him. Joe Namath, I'm still friends with. Dave DeBusschere passed away, but I was friendly with him. So I've met just about everybody. Dusty Baker's still a dear friend, and he's going to be a manager again. When he wins that title, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, just like Derek.
Yeah, when you talk about Muhammad Ali, one of my early interviews as a young writer happened to be with Muhammad Ali back at Allen Park in North Miami at that gym down there, and it was a great thrill being a young writer to work with the greatest of all time. At that point, I was working for a place called the Hallandale Digest, and it was just a thrill being such a young guy. So we definitely have Muhammad Ali in common. And if you look at my Facebook page, then you'll find out that there was a picture of myself, 19-year-old, with a fist right next to my jaw, and it was just unbelievable. So I can appreciate that. And Angelo Dundee was another guy that I was pretty close to as well. And Angelo, did you ever get to know Angelo much?
I saw him at anytime I go to meet Muhammad. Nice guy, very nice guy.
Oh yeah. So, anyways, let's talk about the today's Hall of Fame. I'm sure you're well aware of who got inducted, right?
Yes, a guy by the name of Larry Walker. And my question to you is, who's that one person that didn't make Derek Jeter unanimous?
Oh, that'll be the billion-dollar question that that the media, myself, and everybody out there will be uncovering over the course of the next several weeks. And who knows, by the time we bring you back on for the NFL Hall of Fame selections, that's when you'll be on next. Hopefully we'll have an answer for you then. So, all right. So,
I get Boston Red Sox fan, writer.
Well, you know what? I've talked to a lot of people about that, and many of them concur that that's probably where that particular vote came from. Let's break down the Hall of Fame class. After all, today is Baseball Hall of Fame Day. Now, Marvin Miller, I don't know if there's much memorabilia out there, but he's in there. But another guy that actually lived in my hometown, Ted Simmons in Southfield, Michigan, got inducted, and I think he's a guy that should have gotten in there as well. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts about Ted Simmons?
Ted Simmons was one of the best catchers in the 70s that I've ever seen. I just don't know. I'd like to know why it took so long.
Right. Oh, I agree. That's a mystery in its own right, and I've always wondered why on earth, for crying out loud, did it take him. Obviously, I think so. Lewis, what do you think? Do you think that Simmons is one of the best catchers that ever played the game?
Yeah, I think by wins above replacement, he's in the top 10, and then you just look at the fact that, batting average for what it is nowadays, you can take it at face value. I mean, to hit 293 as a catcher, his career batting average was 285. That's impressive on its own, but he also had positional versatility, and we have a guest that we're talking to on our baseball show later tonight who actually was his battery mate for a long time in the 70s and the early 80s, and Mark Littell. But, Simmons kind of, and what a lot of people have said is his relationship with the sports writers wasn't the best. and his defense wasn't necessarily like on the par of Johnny Bench's. But at the end of the day, when you look at the offensive contributions he made, the fact that he wasn't in the Hall of Fame 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago is kind of ridiculous. But I'm glad now he's finally getting honored.
Yeah, I think one of the things that probably slowed Simmons' Hall of Fame was he played in a small market like Milwaukee, which did not help either. And when you don't have a lot of media guys in a particular market, not that St. Louis is big either, but I think the media market could probably depend on whether or not you get a fair amount of votes. What are your thoughts about that, Les, since you're up in the New York area?
Well, he was also St. Louis. That's where he was.
Right.
He was big there, and you also forgetting he was a switch hitter.
Right.
The switch hitters. And unfortunately, fortunately he got in, but this was his last year of eligibility.
The Veterans Committee.
I think there's a lot of sentiment that got him in. I think that was the key right there. He was a terrific catcher. He wasn't the greatest defensive catcher. He wasn't a Johnny Bench. He wasn't a Thurman Munson, but he was up there. He was a good all-star catcher, good hitter, a hell of a nice guy if you have ever met him. And you like to see good things happen to good people, and he is definitely a good person and a terrific player.
Now, as we outlined, Les, you're in the memorabilia business, and like you said, you've met a myriad of players who you've acquired memorabilia from over the years. Simmons debuted in the end of the '68 season, so you had to have gotten something from him, no?
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Simmons debuted at the end of the '68 season with St. Louis. He was a young 19-year-old kid at the time. I'm just wondering, being that this was around the time you really started to collect autographs as a fan, and then later doing it, as a business venture, do you have any Ted Simmons memorabilia of note that you'd want to mention on the show?
Just signed photos. Back in those days, I didn't have that much money. I was a kid just getting autographs and taking the guys like Dusty to the stadium, or Bruce Bochy, because most of these guys were afraid to take a train by themselves when they first in New York, so I would take them by train. I don't have anything significant on Ted.
That's
Who's
still
to say someone could call me with a game-used jersey? I mean, you never know. And I've been doing this business so long, I've handled a lot of various different items and some really weird and odd items.
Such as?
Pick a sport.
football.
Football. I got to think. That would be a game-used jersey. What did I have? I was dealing with Joe Namath's dentist, and I had some of Joe Namath's game-used stuff. His shoes. I had a jersey at one time. That was some of the better stuff. I wish I could have kept that. I love Joe.
All right, well, let's stick with the sport, which is tonight's focus. What about baseball?
Baseball, the best item I've ever had. Is it the best item or the most unique item?
Well, I don't know. You can just say either or both. I don't care.
The rarest item, I've had a Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth game-used jerseys I've sold, but the rarest item I've ever had, I've never seen it again, was at a Josh Gibson contract.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
And why don't you ask me what's the most unusual boxing item I've ever had?
All right, well, you ask yourself that now that you brought it up.
Okay, I went to a boxing friend of mine, and I went to his master bedroom. I felt kind of weird going into the master bedroom. The blanket was down, and he pulls out from underneath there something in a Ziploc bag. I take one look at it, and it's a jockstrap. Now, next year is the 50th anniversary of the epic fight of Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali. What it was, fully documented, was Joe Frazier's jock when he beat Muhammad Ali.
Wow.
Well, that is pretty interesting. Okay.
Rumble in the Jungle.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. All right, so, yeah, I'm with you. Let's talk about Derek Jeter. Obviously, you alluded to it moments ago. One vote shy of the unanimous vote. But do you have anything of significance of Derek Jeter, and what's the memorabilia market like for Derek Jeter?
Well, Derek is both my kids loved him. I loved him. We've all met him. Most unusual thing, I have a game-used bat. I have a jersey that he wore in an All-Star game. I have, what else? You know what I really have interesting? I have a minor league program that he signed. I've got various different original photos that a friend of mine just passed away. I had taken and gotten them signed. I got them PSA encapsulated also. So I've got quite a large Jeter collection. I mean, he was just an icon and one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet.
Yeah, what type of job do you think he's going to do with the Miami Marlins?
He's going to do the best job he possibly can. And he knows his stuff. So, hey, look, he already pulled one over on my Yankees. He stuck us with and had one good year so far. I mean, hopefully Stanton stays healthy, but he knows what he's doing. He's just a very smart man.
Yeah. He has good people working around him too, and I think as a native Floridian and somebody who grew up, obviously now you have to be more objective being in this business. It's going to be very fascinating to see, and I'm already pleased with a lot of what he's done over here in Miami.
Well, I think Derek Jeter has probably learned a lot from Brian Cashman in terms of player development. I think that's the thing he's trying to develop in Miami by utilizing player development and then retain a lot of key components. And he inherited a lot of bad money and a lot of bad debt. And to think that he was able to unload Giancarlo Stanton and that contract to the Yankees, who are definitely have a dearth of funds. So, yeah, I think Derek Jeter is going to do fine. I think people are so tired of the fire sales that the Marlins have had a track record for. They're saying, oh, no, not again. But when you have Jeffrey Loria as your owner, what do you expect? But with all that mess that franchise has had, they still have 2 world championships, so go figure.
Also remember that he was very, very smart. He went to he took a lot of Yankee personnel. He took them with him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So he knew, he dealt with them, he knew them, so he had a heads up on a lot of people in there.
Now, we know that Larry Walker was also recently elected today as well, 76.7% of the vote, and something that should have happened a long time ago. Do you have any interesting Larry Walker memorabilia that you may be auctioning off in the wake of his induction?
Not just maybe just signed photos or cards or something. Nothing really all that extravagant. I always thought he was a Hall of Famer. Isn't this his last year? Wasn't this his last year also to get in? I'm pretty sure. It's kind of weird, but no, I don't have that much on him. I'm basically my collection. What I love and what I like is I really love boxing. I have all the Heisman Trophy winners except for the current one. I have every heavyweight champion from Sullivan to present, unless someone wins. Someone new comes in and wins. I've got all the Yellow Hall of Fame placards, except for the newest guys now. Well, I've got and I got basketball. I've got every sport. I have it covered.
Okay, well, I mean there's no doubt that boxing definitely does go ahead and retain a lot of value for sure. And so when you have to judge all the different sports in terms of what sport holds the most value, name me your top 3 or 4 sports that go ahead and have the most value.
As far as investment, when people ask me to invest in something, or as far as most popular?
Probably most popular, what they can fetch on the market.
Most popular by far is baseball.
Yeah, I figured that. I definitely figured that.
Football is, I don't deal that much in football. I do have an extensive collection in football. And I just love boxing. After being friends with Muhammad, doing a TNT special with him, and just being friends with Joe Frazier and quite a few other fighters, you see a different side of them. I mean, most baseball players were great players and fun to be with and nice guys, but boxers, they're just they go in a ring. And unfortunately, some of them can just die from one shot or pass, or get seriously hurt. Baseball players the same thing, but boxers is one-on-one. All the other sports, except for tennis, the individual sports, it's basically a team sport.
Mm-hmm.
So boxers, they risk their lives every time they step in the ring.
Oh yeah, they do. I mean, and you certainly have a wealth of tradition there. You've had, you've had Joe Frazier, George Foreman, and don't forget Sugar Ray Leonard, who probably brought in quite a bit as well. So, Mike Tyson, yeah, that's an interesting one.
Now, Les, where can people find you and see a lot of your material?
Excuse me?
Where can people find you to see, what kind of memorabilia that you have and possibly get in on?
Well, that's his website, www.Wolff, WOLFF, sports, SPORTS, LLC.com. Or they can always email me at lwolf1823@AOL.com, and it's Wolff with 2 Fs.
So when you summarize this Hall of Fame class, Simmons, Jeter, and Walker. How do you rank that in terms of what potential items could be worth with this group?